Hi, my name is Rick Lyon, and this is a continuing saga of things you never thought you'd ever do. And so here I am making a YouTube video, and behind me is my new Snapmaker A350. I'm very pleased with this machine and the quality of it. There's a few little things I'd probably do different or change or that sort of thing, but it's really a quality machine. It's easy to use. Software, like most of these 3D printers, laser engravers, CNC machines, the software seems to leave a lot to be desired and take a pretty stiff learning curve. But I really like my new Snapmaker, the A350. It's the bigger one. And so one of the things I've been trying to do is laser engraving on acrylic, and I'll show you what I'm trying to make. So this is what I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make a clock with a LED light base, and unfortunately the clock I bought off the internet is military time only, so that's why you see the 2012. But I want to make these acrylic plates, and then it lights up. And so when I first started, of course, I wasn't sure what I was doing, and so I just put a piece of acrylic in the Snapmaker, and I'll show you some of the, I'm not just going to show you the good things and make it look like I knew what I was doing. I'll show you some of my mistakes as well, and hopefully you can learn more from that. So the first one I did, the laser didn't etch it at all. I mean, it didn't even leave a mark on it. So then I got to, of course, doing what everybody does nowadays, is jump on YouTube. And so I go on YouTube and I see these people engraving acrylic, and it's working just fine. But then I started doing more research, and with the Snapmaker, the way I understand it is because of the frequency of the laser and maybe the power of the laser, I'm not sure. But anyway, you have to coat the acrylic with something so that the laser doesn't either reflect off or pass through the acrylic. So one of the fellows on YouTube was using a dry erase marker. So I tried that, and this was the result. As you can see, it's pretty streaky and blotchy, and I never could get the dry erase marker on there evenly. So then I thought, well, I'll try. I bought some dry erase marker ink refill, and that's this here. And then I bought a roller and an ink pad and tried that. And again, that was, you can see that left it blotchy, streaky. And no matter what I did to get the coating on there evenly, it just wouldn't go on even. So it really didn't work. So then I bought some liquid chalk, because somebody had suggested using chalk on the internet. So I bought some spray chalk, and this I had the best results with, but still it just, it wasn't, I'll show you this one, but this one was kind of an aborted project there. But I'll show you what it looks like, because I have one that I didn't engrave. But so I sprayed it with this blue spray-on chalk, and it's pretty even, and it turned out pretty well. But still, it wasn't, that's the one I showed you here on the clock that I have. That's the one that's there, and it's still got a little streaky and blotchiness to it. So then I tried washable ink. And so this is real thick, like thick paste. And so I used my ink roller and put that on, and it seemed to coat pretty well from the looks of it. But when you held it up in the light, it too had thick places and thin places, and no matter how much I rolled it, and I never could get it to be even. So washable ink, that didn't quite work either. So not anything against the washable ink, it's just not meant for what I was trying to do with it. So then somebody suggested spray on hair color. So I tried that, and I think I've got one of those. So this is the spray on hair color, and same thing, I could never get it. You can see it's got holes in it and it's blotchy, so I didn't even try to engrave that one. So then I thought, well, what about spray on food color? So I tried that, and same thing, it was blotchy. So then I thought, well, I'll get some plastic film. So I tried this plastic film. It's black window tinting. And so I put that on. And unfortunately, that melted into the acrylic. I think I've got that here. So you can see there that the window film melted into the acrylic, so that didn't work. So as I did the research, I found out that one of the things is there's a difference between extruded acrylic and cast acrylic. And extruded acrylic is not as hard as the cast acrylic. The extruded acrylic is more even as thickness than the cast acrylic. But the cast acrylic is harder, so it doesn't scratch as easy. And to me it looks clearer than the extruded. So I went to a place here, I live in South Bend, Indiana, so I went to a place here and it was called Pop Signs. And these folks had all kinds of acrylic. So I told him what I was doing, and he said definitely go with cast acrylic. So I had done some shopping around for cast acrylic. It's hard to find, but I went to some like the industrial supply places and they could get it, but it always took 2 weeks to get it, and I was not quite that patient. So I found this place called Pop Signs, and they had it. They had a whole warehouse full of it basically. And the fellow there was really nice, really helpful, and told me definitely use the cast acrylic. So if you're going to do the laser engraving on acrylic, I strongly suggest, from my experience and from what he told me, definitely make sure you get the cast acrylic. So how do you tell the difference between the cast acrylic and the extruded? The extruded acrylic comes with a clear plastic coating on it, or film, to keep it, from getting scratched while it's in the store or being shipped, that sort of thing. So if it's got a clear plastic film on it, that's extruded. But if it's got a brown paper film on it, you can kind of maybe see it there, but if it's got brown paper on it, then that's cast acrylic. So what I did, my first attempt was just to try this. So I put this in and lasered it, and it turned out pretty good. But unfortunately the paper kind of burnt into the laser. So that didn't turn out the way I wanted it either. It's getting closer all the time, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. So then I realized that, then I thought about getting black contact paper. So I bought this black contact paper from Staples. So now this contact paper it's very thin, it sticks real well, but not, but it's easy to get off too. So I bought this, and I'll show you how it looks going on here. So this is one I did that I messed up. So you can see the contact paper goes on real smooth. The mistake I made with this one was I put the black contact paper on this side, but I didn't take the paper off the back side. So what happened? The laser etched this side really nice, but it melted through, and then the adhesive from the paper melted into the back side, and I'll show you that here. So I've got one that, you know, the engraved side turned out really well, but then the back side has gooey stuff and blotchy stuff to it, so that was messed up. So what I ended up doing was putting the black contact paper on the front, actually on the back. So, because you want, or on the front, but you want to engrave backwards so that when you put it in the LED light base, that the engraving is on the back side so that the light reflects off of it better. So the brown, the black contact paper goes on this, and I know it's in the video here it looks the other way, but this is the way it would look when you engrave it. So you're engraving it backwards, so when you put it in the light base, the engraving is on the back and not the front. So this is what it would look like on the side that you would engrave. On the video here, I noticed that when I show it to you the right way, it reverses it. So, but anyway, and then be sure to take the brown paper off the other side. So this side's got the black contact paper. This side has nothing on it. So that way it doesn't burn the glue from the brown paper into the surface. So as you can see, that turned out really well. The etching is nice and even, it's not blotchy, everything looks clear. So that's the way to do it. So I'll show you here my steps. Okay, so here I have my cast acrylic cut to the size I need it. I just cut it on a table saw with a fine tooth blade. And then one thing I found that you have to be very careful about, especially after you've cut the acrylic, you know, you get like sawdust from the acrylic. You want to make sure it's very clean. So that way you don't get bumps in your black contact paper. Okay, so now we're going to peel off the brown paper. I suppose a real YouTuber would fast forward through all this part, but okay, so there's the brown paper off. So now we're going to put so I cut a piece of the black contact paper, the size to cover this. You're going to be very careful and be very clean about it. You don't get dirt under your contact paper. This is a lot like for fellows my age, back when we used to tint our own car windows. So I doubt that many kids do that nowadays, but you put this on here and then we're going to smooth it out as we go. That turned out pretty well. I got one little bubble there, smooth that out. There we go. Now this is probably not necessary, but I do it anyway. Trim off the excess here. Okay, so there we go. So now that we've got that done, I'm going to laser etch this, but then I'm going to come back later with the CNC machine and cut it out. So that's the beauty of the Snapmaker, is that you can laser it and then switch the machine over to the CNC, and then you can cut it out. So what I'm going to do, I need to mark my center point. So this is just a mailing label. It seems to work pretty well. So what I do is kind of find my center here, and then where I want the circle, the starting point to be. Now on my design, I put rather than having the center, the starting point in the middle of the design, I had it at the bottom. So it'll be in the center at the bottom of the design. So that's where I'm going to put my dot here, because that dot is going to be the starting point for the CNC and the laser. So that way I can laser it and then come back later with the CNC and center up on that dot and then cut it. So we'll figure this out here. Put our mark there. And these measurements are just because I've made several of these now that I know where I want my dot to be. So now your starting point can be wherever you want, and you can do that when you use the Luban software to make your design, or whatever software. Seems like there's a ton of them out there, but that's going to be my starting point for both the laser and the CNC. That way I can get everything lined up and it all matches. All right. Okay, so now we have our cast acrylic piece here. We've got our center line marked. We're going to put it on the machine, and since I'm duplicating this with this, engraving it and then coming back later and cutting it out with the CNC machine, I want to try to make this as straight as I can. So fortunately, with the Snapmaker, the bed here has these ribs in it. So I line it up with that, line it up with the end here, and make sure that we're all on there straight. And then I just use some blue painter's tape. And tape it down. And I check make sure it stayed straight. And I'll put one on the other end. Now check and make sure I'm still lined up with my ribs. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to turn the machine on. Turn it on over here on the back of this. Give it a minute to come on. One of the nice things about the Snapmaker is that you can either load your program with this USB drive that comes with it. I have hooked it up wireless through the internet and done that, but I just, for some reason, like using the USB drive. So you can see the Snapmaker's coming on here. Okay, so I'm going to hit start. We've got our piece of material fastened down. I'm going to hit start, and we're going to go to USB, and these are the files that I've got in that USB drive, and we're going to pick the one I want. That's that one there. And then we got our laser power set at 100%, work speed set at 100%. Here it's telling me how long it's going to take to do it. One of the things I found out about the laser power is that in the Luban, it says fixed. There's a place where it says fixed power. You want to check that, because one of the mistakes I made early on when trying to engrave this was that the fixed power was set on 50%, and even though it said 100% here, it was 100% of 50%. So I was only running at half power. So, you know, that was one of those things that, thanks to one of the fellows on YouTube, but you know, I was looking at his settings and learned that way. So, you know, that's one of those things that Luban is pretty, not the most user-friendly software I've ever seen. You have to be careful that if you change something, something else will default back. So before you save it and generate your G code, you want to make sure all your settings have stayed the same where you've got them. And then, like I say, make sure that your power is set on 100% there, so that when you do 100% power here, you get 100% of 100%. Work speed is set at 100%. For this, I've got it set at 100 millimeters per minute. That seems to work pretty well. I've got it set to do 2 paths, 1 millimeter deep. So it's going to make 2 passes over the engraving. It's going to do, I guess, a 1/2 millimeter deep and then another 1/2 millimeter deep. And I found that just doing 1 pass, it leaves some of the residual of the whatever you're coating it with behind. But when it makes the second pass, it removes a lot of that and ends up clear. So those are the kind of things you just, you know, and it's one of the reasons I'm making this video, is because I've done a lot of trial and error. Maybe this will save you folks some effort. So anyway, now we're going to hit ready. And one of the mistakes I made early on too was when switching from the CNC head over back to the laser, make sure you recalibrate the laser camera, because if you don't, it doesn't work. So I had that happen once, and then it dawned on me that, went back to the laser, so you got to recalibrate the camera. Another mistake I made was when I switched back to the laser one time, I put the cord in. These cords are really nice. They snap in. And one of the mistakes I made was I put that in there, but I didn't get it snapped. So it was going back and forth and engraving, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. And I'm like, you know, what the heck's going on here? So, you know, about the time I decided, after I'd tried everything and reloaded the program and restarted the software and all that stuff, checked the forum, which is really helpful, the Snapmaker forum. I pretty much thought, well, my laser had gone bad, something's gone wrong with it. So when I went to take it off, I realized that the cord was loose. I had put it in there, but I didn't get it snapped. So that's another one of those things. Maybe hopefully you don't have that problem, but if you do, hopefully you won't go through the nightmare I did, thinking your brand new Snapmaker was bad already, but that was my own fault. Okay, so the camera's been calibrated, the laser's been calibrated, so now we're going to go to auto mode, and it's going to home, which is going to find itself 0, 0 here. So one of my minor complaints about the Snapmaker is that I know it looks really cool to have black background with gray letters, but when you're trying to wear your laser glasses and you're trying to set things up, and you know, for older people's eyes, black on black doesn't work real well. It looks cool, but it doesn't work real well. But anyway, so the next thing you got to do is set your thickness, because the camera is calibrated to the depth, or to the length from the camera down to the bed. So I take a set of calipers and then I measure, and so I get about 5.6 millimeters on this one. I've been using 5.7, so we're going to stay with that. That's one of my failed projects there. But so we're going to 5.7 millimeters. That's how thick our material is. We're going to hit next. And it's going to say put your safety glasses on, and trust me, you do want to wear these. Do not go without them. Next. Okay, so now we need to set the laser to our starting point here. And again, here you are trying to wear laser glasses, trying to see gray on black. But what we need to do is move this to that dot. And one of the people in the forum taught me this trick, because I had a question of, okay, I've got my laser glasses on. How can I see where the laser is shining if I have my laser glasses on? And the trick they talked about on there was use your cell phone. Now I'm using my cell phone to record this, so I'm going to stop the recording and center the thing up. And but if you use your cell phone, you can see the laser without using your glasses. If you have the glasses on and the cell phone, you can't see the laser because the glasses filter out the blue. So, but if you hold your phone so you don't see the laser, and be careful not to ever do that. So use your cell phone to look at it, and then we'll center the thing up. So what I'm going to do here is there's a 0.1 millimeter, 1 millimeter, and a 10 millimeter. So we're going to select 10 millimeter, and we're going to use the arrows here to get it close, and then I'll stop the video and go from there. Don't, since it's set on auto, you don't want to adjust your up and down. Okay, so now I'm going to stop the video, and I'm going to use my phone to view the laser so I can get the dots centered up. Okay, so now you can see the laser dot. You can see our starting point there. Now I'm going to use the 1 millimeter setting. And now I'm going to switch to 0.1 millimeter setting. And then the okay, now I've got the laser dot set on my starting point, and so now what we want to do, one thing you do not want to forget is to hit the button for set work origin. So if you don't do that, then you lose what you just accomplished there and you have to start over. So be sure you hit set work origin, and that'll tell the machine this is where I want you to start. Now in this case, I'll show you the run the boundary. Running the boundary is not quite as important here with the laser because you don't have any clamps to run into. But if you were doing it for the first time, then you want to run your boundary to make sure that the engraving is going to be on the piece of plastic the piece of acrylic that you're trying to engrave. Okay, so now we see that we're centered. We're at our starting point. We ran the boundaries so that we know we're in good shape, that the design is actually going to be on the plastic, on the acrylic. And so now we're going to hit start. So like I said, a real YouTuber would do the fast forward thing and all that, but I'm even newer at YouTube videos than I am at the Snapmaker. But I come back and it says like 22 hours, which it's kind of slow, but you know, it does a good job. So I suppose, you know, you may be able to, those who are professionals at this sort of thing might be able to do it quicker, but I found these settings to work really well. So you come back in 22 hours and this is what you'll end up with. Okay, so this is what you end up with, and I'm not sure you can see in the video or not, but you can see there's still some black in there from the residue from the contact paper. So that's real easy to scrub off. So I'm going to put a little dish soap on it, use a little scrubber brush before I take the contact paper off, just to make sure I don't scratch up the surface. But I'll do that here real quick. Go. Okay, so thank you very much. So there you can see that it turned out really well. It's good and even and very clear. And then I'll come back with the CNC machine later and cut it out, and we'll end up with a really nice clock. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to try to do some other things. Maybe I can do another video or two with this sort of thing as I'm learning. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.